She brought me to a corporate party, made me stand by her while her colleague threw me $1 and said, "I'll take care of her today." Everyone laughed, even her. The next morning, I found the hotel bill and a spot on her neck that had been put on by the curling iron. That's when I realized my marriage was over, but the show was just beginning. And if they thought they had humiliated me, they had no idea who they had contacted. I'm Chase, 44, male. I make fire pits for people who collect yachts and then complain about the upholstery. I get my hands dirty on purpose. Steel, soot, sparks. And I like that my work smells like an honest life. I've been building Larkin custom forges for 18 years out of a garage that used to leak in the rain. 2 kids, Finn, 19, sharp, way too smart for his old man, and Maya, 14, born with an eye roll and a PhD in sarcasm. That's my messy little kingdom. Lexi used to be part of it. Lexi, 42, corporate marketing, beautiful, sharp, a smile that could smooth over anything. She wore suits like armor and perfume like punctuation. For a decade, she told everyone I needed sophistication. Translation. She was embarrassed by the smell of torch flux on my shirt, and by the way my hands wore calluses like metals. She called them trademarks. I called them home. The change didn't happen all at once. If marriages are a car, ours was slowly running on bad gas until one morning the engine just wouldn't turn over. First, it was small stuff. Separate beds, my snoring to blame, she'd say. Late nights for work, girls' weekends that multiplied. Then came Sasha, Lexi's sister, who loved divorce like a hobby. Sasha, 40, twice divorced, a master at feeding resentment. She'd sit across from me at family dinners and tell Lexi, loudly and with relish, that life was too short for settling. Sasha's voice was like sand in the gears. Lexi listened. A month of these little cuts, and Lexi started dressing. Different. Too different. Her jeans stopped being practical, became a brand statement. She'd check her phone in the middle of watching the kids' soccer games and smile like someone else had written a private joke into her evening. She learned the art of hiding. The phone would flip down. The face would go blank. I told myself I was paranoid. I wanted to believe the woman I married, the woman who mapped out birthday cakes with me and let Finn smear frosting on her cheek, wouldn't trade our life for a late-night text. Blake's name started showing up like a stain. Blake Halpert, 30-something. Perfect hair, perfect suit, a laugh like engineered confidence. Blake suggested we pivot, Lexi would say, casual as it was a lunch order. She said his name enough that it became a presence in the house, a thorn threaded through the meals, the bills, the small terrible things couples argue about. I know my flaws. I'm loud when the forge is loud. I'm not great with ballroom smooth words, but I'm honest. I trusted that we had anchors, 2 kids, the business, years of actual work. Those anchors begin to feel worse than ties when someone with a polished smile comes in and starts sawing.
Hey guys, real quick before we keep going, don't forget to sub and drop a like if you're enjoying the story. Thank you very much. Enjoy watching.
The last few weeks before everything blew were the worst. Lexi started coming home smelling like someone else's cologne. She networked late. She grew defensive when I asked simple questions. Once, this detail sits like glass in my chest. She laughed in front of my family when Sasha dismissed my work as cute, like I did hobby projects in the garage for fun. Finn watched the way she turned the knife with that smirk. Maya mouthed nothing, just that patented eye roll of hers that somehow said, "I see you, Dad." I was trying to be patient to give marriage the benefit of the doubt we'd both earned. But something about being laughed at in my own house made me start keeping small records, receipts, timestamps, a gut that would not be quiet. I tucked those uneasy little facts into a drawer like spare parts, not ready to build anything out of them yet. For now, I kept building fire pits and drinking coffee in a shop that smelled like work and waiting. 2 weeks later, Lexi told me I had to come to her company's annual party. Not would you come? Had to. Like attendance was mandatory. She said her boss wanted to meet me, that it was important for optics, which was hilarious considering she hadn't wanted me at any work event for the last 5 years. Why now? I asked. She gave that look, the one that tries to guilt you into compliance. Because you're my husband, Chase. It would mean a lot to me. Unless you don't care about supporting my career. That last line stung. She knew exactly how to hit where it hurt. So I went. The Belmont Grand Hotel. Downtown, marble floors, champagne towers, people in suits that cost more than my truck. I wore my best navy suit, bought it 5 years ago for a charity auction Lexi dragged me to, and even polished my boots to make them look like real dress shoes. She looked like a magazine cover, black dress, diamonds, the kind of beauty that turns heads but cuts you when you get too close. We walked in, and instantly she changed. Louder laugh, straighter posture, touching arms as she talked. Corporate mode activated. It was like she flipped a switch and erased the version of herself who used to dance barefoot in our kitchen to Tom Petty songs. Then he showed up, Blake Halpert, the name that had been haunting my house like a ghost. Perfect hair, custom suit, Rolex flashing every time he gestured. He had that vibe of someone who's never been told no in his life. When Lexi saw him, her face lit up. Not polite lit, not, oh, my coworker's here. It was something else, like sunlight finding its real home. Chase, this is Blake, she said. And I swear she sounded proud, introducing him, like I was the afterthought. He shook my hand, grip too firm, smile too practiced. Oh, you're the husband. The way he said it, like I was a footnote. They started talking about projects, strategies, late nights, corporate code for we spend time alone and pretend it's professional. I stood there nodding, pretending not to see his hand graze her back, the way she didn't move away. And then it happened, the thing that burned itself into my brain forever. Blake reached into his wallet, pulled out a dollar bill, and flicked it toward me. It fluttered down, landing in front of my drink. Don't worry, champ, he said, grinning. I'll take good care of her tonight. The table erupted. Laughter, whistles. Someone clapping like it was all just hilarious office banter. And Lexi, my wife, laughed too. Not forced, not nervous. She looked me right in the eye while laughing at the joke that gutted me. In that moment, something inside me went quiet. Not rage, clarity. I picked up the dollar, folded it, and tucked it into my pocket. Looked him dead in the eye. You can keep her, I said. Not just for tonight. The laughter died instantly. You could feel the air shift. Lexi froze, her face drained of color. I stood up, straightened my jacket, and walked out before I did something that'd land me in handcuffs. She called after me, but I didn't turn back. I sat in my truck for 10 minutes, just breathing, staring at that hotel's glowing windows. Then I drove home, the dollar still in my pocket, cold, crumpled, and heavier than anything I'd ever carried. I didn't sleep that night. I went straight to my workshop, turned on the welder, and just burned. Didn't make anything real, just metal meeting fire, sparks, lighting the walls like angry fireworks. I kept picturing Lexi's face as she laughed, the sound of Blake's smug voice, the flash of that dollar spinning on the table. By 1 a.m., I'd called her twice, straight to voicemail. By 3, I'd convinced myself maybe I'd misread everything, that there was some explanation. By 5, I got the proof I didn't even know I needed. Bank notification. Lexi's card, our joint card, had just been used at the Belmont Grand Hotel. Room charge, $425. I stared at that number like it was written in fire, took a screenshot, saved it. She rolled into the driveway at 6:30 a.m., BMW humming like nothing was wrong. She tried sneaking in, quiet steps, careful door latch. I waited in the kitchen with a mug of cold coffee. She jumped when she saw me. Chase, you scared me. Fun night? I asked. Her face flickered, shock, guilt, performance. Then she landed on defensive. The party went late, a bunch of us went out after. I crashed on someone's couch. Whose couch? She shrugged. Blake's. He lives close to the hotel. It was late and I didn't want to drive. The way she said it, like it was a responsible decision, made my teeth hurt. Nothing happened, right? She added, crossing her arms. I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshot. That's a funny-looking couch. $425 for a nap seems steep. Color drained from her face. That's not... It's a mistake, the lounge, I interrupted. Drinks in a hotel lounge don't get charged to the rooms, Lex. She went quiet. That twitch started in her jaw, the one she gets when she's cornered, and then I saw it, just under her collarbone, near her neck. A hickey, big, purple, obvious. You got something on your neck, I said. Her hand shot up instantly, covering it. That's, a curling iron burn. A curling iron burn. At 6 a.m. after a work party, with a hotel receipt in her name. I didn't even answer. I just stared at her until she couldn't meet my eyes anymore. Then she tried to reset. Started making toast, humming, talking about dry cleaning and dinner plans like our marriage wasn't lying there on the floor bleeding out. I watched her butter bread with the same hands that had probably been on him hours earlier. That's when I made the decision. Quiet, simple, unshakable. The locks were changing today. Not next week, not after we talk. Today. Before she could waltz back through that door again, before she could feed me another lie with a straight face, I was done being the background character in her fantasy. At 7 a.m., I left for the hardware store, bought new deadbolts, grade 1 security, picked out new handles too, because if I was closing a chapter, I wanted a clean door to do it with. By the time Finn came downstairs at 9, I was halfway through replacing the front door. Dad, what are you doing? Security upgrade, I said. Only people who live here get in. He stared at me for a moment. Does Mom know about this upgrade? She's about to find out. He nodded once. Want help? We finished before noon. 4 doors, 4 new locks. I handed Finn a key and told him not to give it to anyone, not even his mother. He understood, didn't need to ask. That night when Lexi came home from yoga, the new keys wouldn't fit. And when she realized she was locked out, her face turned from confusion to panic. Chase, what the hell? My key isn't working. Yeah, I said, calm as steel. Neither is our marriage. Lexi stood there on the porch in her overpriced yoga outfit, clutching a key that didn't fit anymore. For a second, she just blinked at the lock like it was personally betraying her. Then she tried again, once, twice, harder this time. Nothing. The sound of metal scraping against metal was almost musical. Chase, she said, raising her voice. Something's wrong with the lock. Yeah, I said, walking to the door. There's a theme going around. Her eyes narrowed. What's that supposed to mean? It means I finally fixed something in this house. She blinked, still trying to act confused, like she didn't know exactly what I was doing. You're being ridiculous. Let me in so we can talk about this like adults. I opened the door just enough to lean against the frame. Adults don't cheat on their spouses, Lex. They don't lie about hotel rooms or walk in with another man's perfume on their skin. Her jaw tightened. You're overreacting. You've always been so dramatic. Dramatic? I laughed. You spent the night at a hotel with your coworker, came home with a hickey, and now you're calling me dramatic? Her eyes darted past me, maybe looking for Finn. She lowered her voice, realizing the neighbors were watching. Mrs. Lane from next door was suddenly checking her mail, and the Cade family across the street had wandered out to water their already dead lawn. The entire neighborhood was enjoying the free show. Chase, please, she hissed. Don't do this out here. Why not? You were fine humiliating me in public. Remember that party? The dollar bill? She flinched just for a second before recovering her icy tone. That was a joke. Yeah, I said. So was our marriage. She tried to push past me. I didn't move. The air between us went heavy. This is my house too, she snapped. Not anymore. You can crash on Blake's couch tonight. I hear you're familiar with it. Her composure cracked then, her voice rising, shaking. You can't just lock me out. You're being cruel. No, Lex, cruel is what you did. This is mercy. And I closed the door. Slowly, deliberately. The click of that new deadbolt sliding home was one of the most satisfying sounds I've ever heard. Through the window, I watched her stand there, shoulders shaking, fury and disbelief, fighting for dominance on her face. Then she turned and stalked off toward her car, muttering something I couldn't hear. Her tires screamed as she tore out of the driveway. Finn came downstairs a minute later, holding his phone. You okay? He asked quietly. Yeah, I said, exhaling for what felt like the first time in months. We're fine. He hesitated and showed me his screen. He'd been filming from the stairs. Dad, he said with a small grin, this is going viral in our group chat already. I didn't even care. But the next morning, a thick envelope from a law firm landed on my doorstep. Lexi wasn't done, not by a long shot. Inside was a letter from her attorney demanding spousal support, and half of everything I owned, including my business. The same business she spent years calling a cute hobby. My stomach turned cold. I called my lawyer, Tom, immediately. Tom, I said, Lexi's lawyer just sent me papers. She wants spousal support. He chuckled, low and calm. Then it's war, Chase. Come to my office tomorrow morning. Bring every record you've got. I hung up, looking around my quiet house. The smell of coffee and welding oil lingered in the air. She'd taken my trust, but she wasn't taking my life's work. Not one damn inch. Tom's office sat on the 12th floor of some old downtown building that still smelled like tobacco and carpet glue. He'd been my lawyer for years, handled business contracts, permits, stuff that never involved blood or heartbreak. When I walked in that morning, he looked at me like he already knew something bad had gone down. Morning, Chase, he said, motioning toward the coffee pot. Heard things blew up. You could say that, I muttered, setting a box on his desk. That's 18 years of paperwork, taxes, receipts, bank statements, payroll records, you name it. He called in a woman named Una, a forensic accountant, early 30s, hair in a bun, sharp enough to cut glass. She shook my hand with a firm grip. Let's see how creative your wife got, she said. Over the next few hours, she turned my life into spreadsheets. Bank logins, credit card statements, joint accounts. She tore through them like a detective on a caffeine drip. I'd always been too trusting. Lexi handled most of the joint expenses, and I'd stopped checking every transaction years ago. Una clicked her pen. Question, Chase. You said you and Lexi share one credit card that's linked to the business account? Yeah, I said. She used it for supplies sometimes, client dinners, travel. Her eyes narrowed. Supplies, huh? She spun her laptop toward me. There it was, 6 months of transactions, highlighted like bloodstains. Hotel stays at the Belmont Grand, luxury restaurants, spa charges, designer boutiques. One line item made my jaw lock. $550 Fleur de Nuit lingerie. Jeza, I whispered. Una scrolled further. Total misuse, $38,324, all from your business account. And look here, recurring transfers, same destination each month. She zoomed in on the name, BH Ventures, LLC. I said it out loud. BH, Blake Halpert. Tom looked up from his notes. You're kidding. Nope, Una said, dead serious. Registered 6 months ago. Principal owner, Blake Halpert. Supposedly a marketing consultancy. She leaned back, smiling like she just caught a con artist. Your wife's been bankrolling her boyfriend, with your company's money. For a second, I couldn't breathe. It wasn't just cheating. It was theft, embezzlement, betrayal, in ink and numbers. Tom nodded slowly. We're not just fighting for your assets now. We're pressing this. She's not getting a dime of support. We'll let the judge see exactly where that money went. Una wasn't done. She typed a few more things, then looked up. Question, Chase. Who does this Blake guy work for? Some tech marketing company, I said automatically. Outdoor products, I think. Tom's grin grew wider. What's the name? Ironworks Outdoor Design. Why? He laughed, a short, disbelieving sound. Chase, you own Ironworks. You bought it 5 years ago under your parent company. He's your employee. I froze. Come again? Tom was already pulling up the employee roster. Sure enough, there it was. Blake Halpert, Marketing Director. 88,000 a year. Reports to owner Chase Larkin. It hit me like a hammer. The guy who humiliated me at that party, who'd been sleeping with my wife, spending my money, laughing in my face, was cashing paychecks with my signature, and that's when the switch flipped. Not rage, something colder, cleaner. Tom, I said, standing. I know what I need to do next. He raised an eyebrow. What's that? Fire my employee. He smiled. Just make sure you enjoy it. That night, I barely slept. I kept replaying Blake's smug grin, the sound of Lexi's laughter, the dollar bill landing in front of me. Tomorrow, that dollar was going to get its revenge. Court day felt like walking into a forge with no gloves on. Everything hot, bright, dangerous. Tom met me on the courthouse steps, clean suit, calm eyes. I hadn't worn my good one since the party, but I figured justice deserved decent tailoring. Stay cool, he said. She's going to lie, cry, or both. Don't take the bait. Inside, the courtroom looked smaller than it did on TV. Lexi sat across from me at her attorney's table, looking delicate and heartbreakingly rehearsed. Navy dress, pearls, tired but brave makeup. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Her lawyer, Peter Carver, was the kind of man who probably practiced empathy in the mirror. Carver started with the opening pitch. Lexi, the selfless wife. Years of emotional neglect. A husband married to his forge, not his family. How she'd given up opportunities for me. How I'd humiliated her by locking her out. The usual performance piece, heavy on pity. Judge Brennan, a woman in her 60s, with steel gray hair and a stare that could melt concrete, looked over her glasses at me. Mr. Larkin, would you like to respond? I stood, hand steady, voice low. Your Honor, I changed the locks because my wife was spending our money, my company's money, on her affair. I didn't humiliate her. She did that herself. A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Finn sat in the back row. He gave me a subtle thumbs up. Lexi's lawyer stood again, trying to sound wounded. That's an unsubstantiated claim. Tom was ready. He strode to the table, thick folder in hand. If it pleases the court, we have documentation. He laid out receipts, hotel invoices, bank statements, one by one. Una had organized everything into a kill shot, highlighted charges, transfer logs, even the BH Ventures registration, listing Blake as owner. The judge flipped through the pages, her expression shifting from neutral to furious disbelief. Mrs. Larkin, she said, voice sharp, can you explain $38,000 in charges to your husband's business account, along with repeated hotel stays at the Belmont Grand? Lexi opened her mouth, eyes darting between her lawyer and me. Those were business expenses, she stammered. Business expenses, the judge repeated, arching an eyebrow. You're in marketing, not espionage. Who is Blake Halpert? Silence. The kind that makes every second a hammer strike. Tom didn't waste it. Your Honor, Mr. Halpert is her coworker, and the owner of BH Ventures, the company receiving the transfers. He is also coincidentally an employee at one of Mr. Larkin's subsidiaries. Mr. Larkin pays his salary. The courtroom erupted. Even the stenographer paused, eyes wide. The judge's pen tapped twice against the desk. So, Mrs. Larkin, she said, you've been having an affair with your husband's employee, funding it with your husband's company account, and now you're requesting spousal support? Lexi's face crumbled. It wasn't, she started, but the judge raised a hand. Enough. That word echoed like thunder. 20 minutes later, it was over. I got the house, I got the business, I got primary custody of Finn and Maya. Lexi got her clothes, her yoga mat, and a 2009 Civic I'd been planning to donate. Tom handed me the final papers outside, grinning. Clean win. She'll be paying your legal fees, too. I looked over at Finn, who was leaning against the truck, smirking. Dad, he said, that was better than any movie. I laughed, actually laughed. Glad you enjoyed the show. But inside, something else was brewing. Because while the court had given me justice, Blake still had a job. My job, technically. And tomorrow, he was going to lose it in front of everyone. I got to Ironworks the next morning before sunrise. The air was thick with the smell of steel and oil, the scent of the life I'd built with my own hands. The machines hummed quietly, waiting. I'd always loved those hours before the noise started, when the shop felt like it was holding its breath. But that morning wasn't about work. It was about closure. By 9 a.m., my assistant Monica poked her head into my office. She'd been with me over a decade, knew how to read me better than most people. You've got that look, she said carefully. What look? The one that means someone's about to have a real bad day. I smiled for the first time in weeks. You're right. Schedule a mandatory division head meeting, 10 o'clock, and make sure Blake Halpert is there. Her eyebrows rose, but she didn't ask questions. All right, boss. By 9:55, I was sitting at the head of the long conference table, a place I didn't usually sit. The rest of the division heads filtered in, operations, finance, HR, all looking nervous. They knew emergency meetings rarely meant good news. At exactly 10, Blake walked in, perfect suit, expensive watch, same smug air. But when he saw me at the head of the table, his entire body froze. His skin went pale. I could see the moment it hit him, the recognition that the man he'd mocked, the blue-collar husband, was the owner of the company signing his checks. I gave him a polite smile. Morning, everyone. Please, have a seat. The room fell silent. You could hear the hum of the air conditioner. I turned my gaze directly to Blake. Morning, Blake. How's Lexi doing? The color drained out of his face. Mr. Larkin, I'm not sure what you. Oh, I think you do. I pulled the dollar bill from my pocket, smoothed it on the table, and slid it toward him. This look familiar? He stared at it like it was a loaded gun. I. I can explain. Please don't, I said softly. I've heard enough explanations to last me a lifetime. The others shifted in their seats, watching. They all knew they were witnessing something historic, the quiet kind of vengeance that would be whispered about in the break room for years. I stood and opened a folder. Blake, this company expects professional conduct both in and out of the workplace. Throwing money at your boss while sleeping with his wife doesn't qualify. He went from pale to red in seconds. You can't, I can, I said, calm as ever. And I am. Effective immediately, you're terminated. Security will escort you out. Your final paycheck and benefits end today. And if you even think about suing for wrongful termination, my lawyers will be thrilled to introduce your relationship with my wife to the public record. He swallowed hard. The room was dead quiet. HR's Lucy didn't even wait for my cue. She'd already texted security. Two large guys appeared at the door. Mr. Halpert, one said. This way. Blake stood, trying to keep his dignity, but his hands were shaking. His expensive shoes squeaked on the floor as they walked him out. You could have heard a pin drop. When the door shut behind him, I finally let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. I turned to the rest of the team. Apologies for the drama, I said. But sometimes cleaning house isn't optional. It's survival. They nodded, some wide-eyed, some impressed, some just relieved it wasn't them. As the meeting ended, Monica caught my eye through the glass wall, a small knowing smile on her face. You okay? She asked quietly. Better than okay, I said, pocketing the dollar. For the first time in a long while. 3 hours later, I got a voicemail. Lexi's voice, panicked, shrill, trembling. Chase, what did you do? Blake showed up screaming that he got fired because of me. What happened? You can't just ruin people's lives like this. I replayed that message twice. Each time, it sounded sweeter. Because the truth was, she'd ruined ours first. And now, I was just cleaning up the mess. 6 months later, life felt different. Calmer, quieter, cleaner. The kind of quiet that comes after a storm has ripped your roof off, and you finally rebuild it stronger. Spring in Tennessee rolled in, soft and golden. The forge was busier than ever. Orders stacked high, months of backlogs, customers waiting for Larkin originals. That scandal somehow had turned me into a legend. The guy who found out his wife cheated with his own employee and took everything back. Clients loved it. People liked stories of men who didn't fold. I'd expanded the workshop, hired new welders, doubled our output. Finn was off at college, thriving, calling to ask advice on girls and engines. Maya still lived with me, funny, fiery, and more protective of me than I deserved. The house was quiet but steady, peaceful. And then one Tuesday evening, the doorbell rang. I opened it and found Lexi standing there. She looked nothing like the woman who'd strutted into that hotel months ago. Her hair hung limp, makeup smudged, clothes worn, and unwashed. The BMW was gone, replaced by that old 2009 Civic she'd fought to keep. The engine idled behind her, coughing like it was on its last leg. Chase, she said, softly, eyes already wet. Can we talk? I leaned against the doorframe. We're talking, she gave a shaky smile. Please, not like this. Can I come in? I shook my head. You lost that key a long time ago. Her face twisted. I've been in therapy, she started, trying to understand what I did. Blake, he used me. He made me feel special, but he's gone now. He left. I've lost everything, Chase. I just watched her. Her voice cracked in all the same ways it used to when she'd lie. I was stupid, she continued. I miss you. I miss us. The kids. The house. The life we had. I can't sleep. I can't. Behind her, the Civic made an awful grinding noise, like even the car was sick of the performance. Blake dumped you, I said. Not a question. Just truth. Her chin quivered. That's not... She started, then stopped. The silence between us was thick enough to taste. She tried to pivot like always. You're not perfect either, Chase. You pushed me away with your work. With that shop. Yeah, I said. But I never pushed you into someone else's bed. Her face crumpled. Tears streaked her cheeks. Can't we start over? I've changed. No, I said simply. You're just broke. That's not change. That's consequence. The Civic made a final sputter and died completely, smoke curling from the hood. She glanced back, humiliated. Please, she whispered. At least help me get it running. I don't have anyone else. For a moment, the old reflex flared, the one that wanted to fix things, to rescue. Then I saw it for what it was, another trap. Another chance to let her step back into the life she'd shattered. Do you need me to call a tow truck? I asked, voice calm. She blinked through tears. You're not really going to just let me sit here stranded, are you? I looked at her, at the leaking car, at the cracked woman who'd once laughed while another man threw $1 at me. You should have thought about that before you cashed in your dignity for room service, I said. Her mouth opened like she wanted to scream. But no sound came. Finally she turned, slammed the car door, and tried the ignition. 3 times before it coughed back to life. It screeched as she pulled away, leaking oil all the way down the street. When the sound finally faded, I closed the door and locked it. Same deadbolt, same satisfying click. Later, Finn texted, Mom called crying. Said you wouldn't help with her car. Were you serious? I replied. Did she think about that before laughing at me in front of her boyfriend? He sent back one line. Fair point. Pizza tomorrow? That made me smile. The next morning, I went into the shop, took that same dollar bill out of my wallet, and framed it under glass. Beneath it, I forged a small brass plaque with my own hands. The engraving read, "Respect the man with grease on his hands. He might sign your paycheck." It hangs in my office now. Every time I walk past it, I remember what it cost to earn peace. And I swear the metal seems to hum a little brighter, like it knows it's been forged, from fire, pain, and the cleanest revenge a man can get. Moving on and never looking back.